If there is one area of work that is guaranteed to come into your workshop, if you offer it, it's the MOT. Every year, over 34 million cars present themselves at garages for their annual safety check. It's a fundamental part of motoring, even if recent years have seen government intervention with attempts to move to a 322, 422 or 411 system. However, many motorists do believe that it's the only safety check they need to conduct on a yearly basis. So the aftermarket has an important part to play, not only in ensuring the validity of the MOT and that it stays at 311, keeping the UK roads the safest in Europe, but also that drivers understand the MOT is essential, but not the only checks that they need to do on an annual basis. The MOT is a part of the aftermarket, an important part, and technicians and garages need to make sure they stay up to date on what they need to do to offer road safety to every vehicle on the road today. According to the latest data offered by the DVSA, across the last 4 quarterly reporting periods, the average failure rate for vehicles presented for their MOT is 28.2%. Of these, 7.8% fail on at least one dangerous item. That's nearly 2 million vehicles on UK roads. The most common failure is in lamps, with 11% of the total. Suspension failures make up 8.8% of failures, while tyres are 6.4%. Staying up to date with the MOT when you're offering it is vital, and that means training. Not only for the annual assessment every year, making sure it's done in plenty of time, but just staying up to date with those changes to the technical manual as well. How vital is training and organisation when it comes to delivering the MOT?
Yeah, it's really, really important. Not only is it for you to stay up to date with everything's going on, just so you can test vehicles better, it's also a mandatory requirement from the DVSA. It's actually in the testing guide. You have to keep up with it. Not only just the annual exam that you need to do every day and the mandatory 3 hours of training, but it actually does state that you do need to keep up with all the training. So that's what we try to do. We try to give everyone bite-sized training that they can understand and make sure that their testing practices are the best that they can be. As you know, the industry is changing a hell of a lot. There's new technologies on cars, there's constant updates from the DVSA, the testing practices are evolving, and you need to keep on top of all your training. But it should be the right training that's for you. Everyone learns differently. We tend to find testers that are more organized, tend to be more confident, they're less stressed, and they tend to pass the annual exam first time with actually better marks than the guys that usually wait until the 31st of March, cram in 3-4 hours of training and then try and do their exams. They tend to be the one that says, oh, these exams are not fit for purpose, we don't really know what we're doing, these aren't relevant. But actually, if you stay on top of it and are a bit more organized, you do a lot better. It's not only just with the annual exams as well, it's also the auditing and the site visits. If you're on top of your compliance, if you are organized, so when a VE does step through the door or you get a self-assessment form, you can go, right, I know all the answers to these questions. I've done it all in the past. I've got it all to hand. It's not a stress. There's enough stresses with running a garage, keeping customers happy. The actual MOT part shouldn't be, as long as you keep on top and organised with it.
Of course, you can't conduct an MOT without the proper equipment. For garages that are already doing the test, making sure that it is updated and inspected is key. And for those looking to get into the world of MOTs, sourcing from the right suppliers is vital. After all, this is the equipment that is going to make sure thousands of cars are safe on the road from your workshop.
Yeah, I mean, the MOT test at the end of the day, fundamentally, is a safety test followed by environmental. So I think the UK market has forgotten a little bit that the MOT test is a safety test. And the MOT industry it seems a little bit like we're driving down the road of a cheapest wins, which actually isn't always the best approach. Having the right equipment to do the job properly is the important thing from our perspective as an association. To be fair, a lot of the equipment is common across the classes, particularly 3, 4, 7. Your HGV, PSV is different, motorcycle is different, but the car and van market is pretty much the same. Again, looking for equipment, you're looking, a lot of garages, the MOT is their bread and butter work. They can have getting work through the door. So having reliable equipment, again, not buying the cheapest, but buying something that's trustworthy, reliable, and backed up by a proper company that's looking to support and offer support to you. Certainly with modern equipment, as you're fully aware, the DVSA have been promoting connected equipment, have mandated some. It is there to help the MOT testers. It's not a big brother's watching them at all. It's to help them reduce their errors and speed the test up. So they really should be considering, if they haven't got connected and don't need to, but they can optionally upgrade to connected equipment, it will improve their business.
Many cars are failing MOT on the common areas, think tyres, think suspension. But more vehicles are being presented with smaller issues, for example, bulbs or wipers, as driver attitudes towards their cars changes. So how important is it for garages to have a supply of these items ready to go should a vehicle fail in order to get it back on the road as quickly as possible?
There's two options with that. I mean, having a supplier on hand is great, and we know, the UK industry now in general works so quickly and is on such rapid turnarounds. So yeah, knowing the general product or brand that you buy, whichever your preferred may be, and having access to that is great. The other option that we're seeing more and more workshops do now is looking at holding stock of wipers on site. So with some of the multi-clip options that are out there from Simply, or whether it be from another brand, whichever it may be, there's options out there that you can stock sort of 15 SKUs in a small rack or a small display box. And like you say, Phil, even with these multi-clip solutions where you just find the right adapter fitted to the blade and onto the vehicle, you're talking a 1 or 2 minute job without ordering anything specifically, solving the customer's problem, an additional revenue opportunity, selling those wipers, and away you go.
A recent change to the MOT inspection manual in section 3.4, stating that windscreen wipers must continue to operate automatically when switched on, shows just how the DVSA is taking even the smaller things and ensuring there's no loophole when it comes to testing.
So that change in itself is a bit strange, because you'd kind of imagine it should have always been there. Essentially what that's saying now is that a technician must turn on the wipers, and when they do that and activate them, they must turn on and stay on, which, as I say, you would think would be part of the test anyway. But I think perhaps there's an element of closing a few loopholes perhaps there, where if it didn't work, you couldn't test it. So now, as part of the test, it has to physically function. And I think that is important. Again, it's making sure that the test is done as much as anything, and making sure they are actually trying the wipers. And then it's a bit of a nudge, I think, that if they're doing that, and if technicians are aware that there's this extra test now and something else that needs to be ticked off, if you like, that they're performing that test properly, through from just turning them on to actually checking the deterioration, checking the wipe performance. So hopefully, it's something that make sure these checks are being done, and perhaps just gives technicians that little bit of an extra nudge, really, to perform all that part of the test a bit more thoroughly.
For over a decade, the government has been trying to change the MOT through various different consultations, and every time the aftermarket has fought back in the name of road safety. But this year, the aftermarket is taking the fight to the government over the MOT itself, especially around the cost cap. Set at £54.85, this hasn't changed since 2010, despite a rise in inflation, the cost of living crisis, energy costs spiralling, and other economic pressures. In fact, the current rate is well below the hourly average rate from most independent workshops. Therefore, something needs to change.
Well, I think in line with inflation, if it was to stay there, then it should sit around, well, I think it's about £89, but it should £90, let's say. And I think the MOT and the IWF is calling on the MOT fee to be raised because, again, when you are looking at modernising the MOT test to encapsulate all the latest, technology and software and systems that are on a vehicle, as well as kind of the functional checks, that's an investment for a garage or an MOT, and things have to be in line with that. So, you have to think about certain things. I mean, you ask a very sort of straight question, and when it makes you think, when did anything stay the same in price that it was 15 years ago? Anything. I'm struggling. What was a price today that is still the same as it was 15 years ago? You just can't think of anything. And I think, well, why is the industry being penalised there in that respect? And again, they've got to invest in their equipment. They've got to invest in their training. And I just think if we want them to stay roadworthy and emissions, to stay within the limits, then the businesses have to be, be able to charge what it's a fair and proportionate amount, really.
So the MOT is not going anywhere. It can't. It's a vital part, not just of the aftermarket and road safety, but of motoring in general. And with over 36 million cars on the roads, all of these are going to need an MOT at some point in their lives. And when they do, they're going to be looking for a workshop to conduct that. Whether you currently offer MOTs or looking to get into it, remembering the right training and equipment is vital. And it's great to see the aftermarket fighting for the MOT, especially this year, taking a proactive approach to the fee. The MOT is important. The UK's road safety record will be nowhere without it. It's a key component of the aftermarket, and it could not succeed without the dedicated time and effort of MOT testers and garages across the UK.